I love people who really are comfortable exploring this ultimate question of why, right? So, you know, why is a question that is just, it's the easiest question to ask, but it's the hardest question to answer, right?
Picture this, a fintech darling cloaked in tie, dyed t-shirts and a guru beard promising to care deeply about the demographics he's taking advantage of. Sounds familiar, right? Well, that's because it's the same old story we've heard before. The traditional bankers may wear suits and ties, but at least we can spot them in the wild and treat them with appropriate skepticism. But with this modern marketing approach, Block's founder, Jack Dorsey, has been celebrated by Silicon Valley elite, regular people, and investment bankers alike. However, a closer look at Block shows that it's not changing the game at all. In fact, it seems to be focusing on dressing up predatory loans and fees as revolutionary products, avoiding regulation and embracing worst-of-breed compliance policies to profit from its facilitation of fraud against consumers and the government. And what does Block seem to be betting on? That the consequences will either be a cost of doing businesses or come later. But we're here to tell you that the luster will wear off, and investors will realize that Block is just another undifferentiated loan and fee originator. It's only a matter of time before it trades closer to its net tangible book value. And while Dorsey and his top executives have already sold over $1 billion in equity near the top, ensuring they'll be fine regardless of the outcome, the rest of us might not be so lucky. So buckle up and let's take a closer look at Block. Are you curious about the early days of one of Silicon Valley's most beloved companies? Let me tell you the story of Block, formerly known as Square, and how it disrupted the payment industry with a tiny card reader that could plug into a smartphone's headphone jack. Founded in 2009 by entrepreneur Jack Dorsey.
Small businesses that actually rivals and is much better than what most big businesses have.
Block quickly gained popularity among artists and vendors who needed an easy way to take credit card payments. But as the point-of-sale market became more crowded, Block had to look elsewhere for growth opportunities. That's when it launched Square Cash, now known as Cash App, in 2013 to compete with Venmo. And that was just the beginning. Over the years, Block expanded into short-term loans, prepaid debit cards, and even free stock trading. But it all started with a simple idea that changed the way we think about payments. The fintech company that's been making waves since its inception, with its focus on providing easy access to sending and receiving funds, Block has gained a reputation for being an innovator in the industry. In fact, a 2022 Pew Research Center survey showed that its Cash App has even targeted low-income and minority consumers with its frictionless approach. But here's the catch. While Block claims to be removing friction from the system and adding some magic, it seems that this has come at a cost. Former employees have alleged that every criminal has a Square Cash App account. And there's even a gang named after the app whose members have been arrested for fentanyl distribution. So what's really going on? Some say that Block's payment system doesn't offer a discernible edge over its competitors, and that it has simply embraced non-compliance as a tactic to grow its user base. Whether you're a fan of Block or not, there's no denying that this company has been shaking things up in the world of fintech. Will they continue to push the boundaries, or will they be forced to face the consequences of their actions? Only time will tell.
Terrifying. Well, the Baltimore Police Department, along with the state's attorney's office, announced the takedown of a drug trafficking organization known as Cash App. The organization operated in the Sandtown community in West Baltimore. The investigation led to the seizure of large quantities of street-level drugs, guns, and ammunition. We know tonight 7 members of the group are facing charges.
In fact, in 2021, Baltimore authorities arrested members of the notorious Cash App gang who were charged with distributing drugs in a West Baltimore neighborhood. According to a Baltimore news report and criminal records, these criminals used the app to facilitate their illegal activities, taking advantage of its easy-to-use and anonymous features. It's a disturbing reminder of the dark side of technology and the potential dangers of non-compliance. It turns out that Cash App has become a cultural phenomenon in the world of hip-hop. At AJP Morgan Investor Conference in May 2020, Dorsey shared how Cash App had been mentioned in thousands of hip-hop songs, a sign of its widespread popularity. And at the year after that, at the conference, he doubled down on the importance of music in promoting the app, describing how it had become a way for users to express their personal connection to the platform. But here's where things get a little dicey. a closer look at those hip-hop songs reveals that the lyrics aren't always so positive. Instead of rapping about Cash App's sleek design or powerful software, many artists are singing about how the app can be used for less than legal activities, such as fraud, drug trafficking, and more. It's a disturbing trend that raises questions about the responsibility of fintech companies in preventing illegal behavior. Cash App, the popular mobile payment platform, has been identified as the top app used in reported sex trafficking cases in the United States, according to a leading nonprofit organization. Shockingly, Department of Justice complaints revealed that Cash App has been used to facilitate payments for sex trafficking, including the trafficking of minors. These disturbing findings shed light on the dark side of Cash App's easy-to-use platform, as criminals take advantage of its frictionless payment system to perpetrate heinous crimes. Block's strategy of allowing fraudulent accounts to proliferate on its Cash App has generated illegitimate revenue and exaggerated user metrics, according to former employees interviewed by a reputable source. The company's apparent disregard for anti-money laundering and know-your-customer laws, coupled with lax policies around user account creation, seems to be part of Block's growth strategy. This has resulted in a proliferation of fake accounts that facilitated scams, resulting in Block benefiting from increased transaction-based revenue, along with inflated user metrics. Shockingly, some individuals have had hundreds of associated accounts, often associated with blacklisted accounts banned for fraud or other policy violations, which has resulted in the inflation of Cash App's user data. It seems that Cash App's reported user metrics may be a bit too good to be true. The app's user tracking software has uncovered some troubling findings. Many users have multiple accounts, sometimes numbering in the dozens or even hundreds. Former employees have estimated that as much as 40-75 of Cash App's accounts may be fake, fraudulent, or simply additional accounts tied to a single individual. Cash App's web of lies, as it has been dubbed, starts with the app's easy account creation process. With just an email address or phone number and a zip code, almost anyone can join the platform and start sending and receiving funds. However, multiple account connections are often seen as a red flag for possible fraud, and Cash App's lax policies around user account creation have made it easy for fraudulent accounts to proliferate. According to a former compliance employee, Block, the company behind Cash App, insisted that phone numbers were the modern-day equivalent of social security numbers, but it seems that this risky proposition may have come back to bite them. The question remains, how much of Cash App's reported success is based on actual usage, and how much is simply a web of lies? Fake identities and scams are rampant on Cash App, with even high-profile names like Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump being used to deceive unsuspecting users. In fact, there are dozens of fake accounts with these names and others, some of which are aimed at scamming Cash App users. We discovered 50 accounts under the name Donald Trump, many with cash tags like #IDonaldTrump, many with cash tags like a Donald Trump T4 interrogation, which suggests fraudulent activity. Even regular users have reported incidents of identity theft, account hacks, and fake user scams on social media platforms like Reddit and the Better Business Bureau. With so many fake accounts and scams circulating on Cash App, it's clear that the platform's lax policies around user account creation are putting its users at risk. Cash App's system has a major loophole that could be putting its users at risk. Former employees have revealed that the app allows users to change their names to ones that don't match the names provided when they created their accounts. To test this, a team tried turning themselves into Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and were shocked to find that they were easily able to send and receive funds under these fake personas. They even went so far as to order a Cash App card for their fake Donald J. Trump identity and received it in the mail with no questions asked. This kind of deception is not just reserved for tech-savvy tricksters. Regular users are also falling victim to these scams. One pastor complained that scammers were stealing hundreds of dollars from his parishioners using counterfeit accounts. Despite his efforts and a news report, it took 2 months and the intervention of a congressman just to remove the phony accounts. The money was never recovered. If this kind of fraud is so easy to perpetrate on Cash App, it's no wonder that so many innocent people are being targeted and losing their hard-earned money. Are you a Cash App user? If so, you might want to pay attention to this. It turns out that the company behind the popular payment app, Block, has been inflating its usage metrics by reporting misleading transacting active numbers. This makes Cash App's reported customer acquisition costs seem much lower than they actually are, potentially leading to misleading claims that the app is cheaper to use than its competitors. But that's not all. Block has also been under investigation by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau since August 2020 for its handling of fraud. The CFB claims that Block has stonewalled the investigation for over 2 years. But in November 2022, the courts finally ordered the company to comply with investigators. What's more, until recently, Block failed to collect full user social security numbers for Cash Card users, which is required by federal law. And according to litigation records, former employees, and our own testing, the company didn't seem too concerned about it, with one former employee stating that Cash App didn't want to be nosy. While Block did staff a group in the spring of 2021 dedicated to verifying an accurate user count, former employees say that the web is now difficult to untangle. And despite unreliable data on users, Cash App continues to report inflated numbers to investors. So if you're a Cash App user, you might want to take these issues into consideration before trusting the app with your hard-earned money. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it posed a massive challenge to Block's business model. Over 65% of Block's revenue came from transaction-based fees charged to merchants. But with businesses shut down to prevent the spread of the virus, Block's revenue base collapsed. In a bid to save the company, Block shifted its focus to Cash App's potential use in pandemic relief, specifically in distributing government COVID relief funds. In a tweet, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Block, boasted that the company was ready to help distribute government money immediately, especially to customers without bank accounts. Cash App quickly began offering the service, prompting users to sign up and activate the direct deposit feature on their existing Cash App accounts, or set up new deposit-enabled accounts. Within weeks of Dorsey's tweet, around 11 million people signed up for Cash App's direct deposit feature, helping Block report strong metrics at a critical time. Dorsey celebrated the soaring user growth, citing the government stimulus as a significant factor. However, users were charged a fee of 0.5 to 1.75% for speeding up their payments, which equated to a whopping 205% APR. Despite this, Cash App's user growth and associated revenue sent Block shares surging, gaining more than 660% in just 1 year. While the COVID-19 pandemic was a difficult time for many businesses, it proved to be a lucrative one for Block. Are you curious about how scammers exploited the pandemic relief program through Cash App? Well, Jack Dorsey's tweets urging people without bank accounts to receive government money through Cash App may have served as a siren song for these fraudsters. Just weeks after Cash App accounts started receiving their first government payments, problems emerged. These payments would eventually include stimulus payments, unemployment payments, rental assistance, and child tax credits. But unfortunately, scammers took advantage of the pandemic unemployment assistance program, which was vulnerable to fraud as it was intended for self-employed and gig economy workers who verified their own eligibility for benefits. Security firm Me published a report on pandemic fraud called Calculating the Road to Losing $400 Billion, which highlighted that PUA contrasted with standard unemployment insurance, which is paid to individuals whose status is easily verifiable through their former employer. As states began processing PUIU claims, they quickly realized that many of these claims were filed using stolen identities and sought to claw back funds. According to a former employee, the first time we spoke to Arizona, they were at like $500 million in fraudulent transactions. Washington right away was like 200 and something million. These were right away, so we're talking like June 2020. Data obtained through public records requests also revealed that suspect pandemic-related unemployment payments to Cash App's partner bank, Sutton Bank, were 8x higher than those received by competitor Huntington Bank in Ohio, even as Huntington processed the claims. The U.S. Department of Labor Office of the Inspector General testified in March 2022 that a total of $163 billion in improper pandemic unemployment insurance payments were made across all states, with some estimates putting fraudulent payments as high as $400 billion. While a full reckoning of the losses may never be known, states are beginning to come to grips with the damage caused. Well, folks, that's it for part 1 of our coverage on how Block allow insiders into laundering over $1 billion. Who knew that sending money through an app could be so complicated? I guess we should stick to using carrier pigeons or smoke signals for our financial transactions from now on. Join us next time for part 2, where we'll dive even deeper. In the meantime, remember, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And if you're tempted to send money to a Nigerian prince, just remember, well, actually, just don't do it. Stay safe out there, folks.